Welcome to St. Louis City Showdown. I'm AJ, and this is Andre. Andre, this was a way better game compared to that San Diego game for sure. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I think, even better than the Colorado game, right? I mean, it's a victory.
Yeah, anytime you get wins, that's awesome. So we're going to start with a new game. It's called Inside Out. If you haven't seen the movie, I've only actually seen part of the movie, but there's different emotions, like little figures that control a girl. So there might be like the happy emotion or the sad emotion. So we're going to take that for this game here, and we're going to take different emotions and give our thoughts and associations with each one. So to start, we're going to go with surprised. For me, this was even before the game started. I saw that our lineup did not have Klaus or Betcher in it, and oh my gosh, I was super surprised. I was like, what are we doing? Now, it kind of made sense once I saw the field. We were going with a flat 4-4-2, and you had to have Hartle and Teutschert in there. And then I saw Watts in there, and I was like, also surprised again, too, because I was like, where is our boy Celio? Literally, people, Celio has been our best player last year. Like, I don't care what metric you were looking at, he was, in my opinion, by far our best player. And I'm not counting Berkey because he's like a demigod. But out of the mere mortals, he was our best player. But yet, this year, he's relegated to nothing. It's surprising. Now, it did work out, but I would say, like, once Betcher came in, it was a different game. You could see the contributions, especially offensively. He's always in the right spot, it seems like. What were you surprised about?
Okay, so kind of just to touch a little bit on what you said about you're surprised about it. I think at this point in the season, I'm not going to question Olaf. I think the man, I don't want to even talk about previous management, but he kind of knows what he's doing. I mean, if he decides a rotation, I think I'm going to just defer to his judgment, just based on what we've seen in the first 4 games. That said, I was actually just surprised how we kind of went into this game. As soon as the whistle blew, we started running the other side of the field. We were just attacking. I was not expecting this. I thought we were identified as a defensive team, right? But we started out hot, and we're trying to get on their side of the field and start attacking, right? And it just felt to me like the whole game it felt like we had possession. We felt like we had momentum, even though the numbers kind of dispute that. It's just the vibe I got coming out of that. And I was just, again, surprised by it. It caught me off guard. Did not expect to start the game so hot, all right? So the next emotion I think we want to touch up is being happiness, right? So, like, obviously, when I saw Lubin get ready for that set piece and when he made it in, I was like, dude, we're getting out. This is the team I thought we could be, We're getting points. We're on the board, And I thought once we got that goal, we kind of set the tone for the game going forward. I think at that point, we had full momentum. What about you?
Yeah, and before I do the happy emotion, I can't believe we forgot to mention to people, as you guys can see, Steve is not here with us. So, unfortunately, I think Steve would say right now he would probably have the sad emotion. Unfortunately, with all these tornadoes that came through, it looks like a tornado or one heck of a downburst hit his neighborhood. If you guys could see the videos, his house looks like it was shot with a hailstorm shotgun. The siding's all messed up. The screens are ripped off. He's got a fence that's in the street right now, so he doesn't have power or internet. And yeah, it kind of stinks, but he would 100% love to be here. But unfortunately, he got hit with the storm. So, yeah. So anyways, I'd say for the happy, it has to be the W, right? It has to be. I think St. Louis fans, especially on Reddit and Facebook, were freaking out that we were draw. And we're like, oh my gosh, is this going to be like last year where we're just going to draw to infinity? Well, guess what? We got 2 wins, 2 draws, no losses currently. As the standings show, I checked a few minutes ago, we're in 3rd place on the table. Come on, guys. Like, this is great. And now we just need to maintain this. This is about where I kind of expected that we would be in the top 5. Vancouver is doing amazing right now. They have a perfect score with 12 points right now. We have 8. So I think we're doing pretty darn good. So that's my happy emotion. Now, the next emotion is frustration. For me, the frustration was Seattle's game plan literally looked like they were going to flop the entire time. They were flopping around like fishes out there. They were barely getting touched, flopping down. There was some times where, I swear there was like maybe 2 times where there was another player next to them, not even touching them, and somehow they fell. Like, come on. It's the one thing that a lot of non-soccer fans hate about soccer is the flopping. But when you get a team that's their whole strategy, it felt like that's just honestly frustrating. What about you, Alberto? What's your frustrating feelings?
Yeah, so I agree with you. The frustration on the Sounders just kind of falling to the ground. You kind of felt like it wasn't part of their game plan. I felt like it was their entire game plan. Like it literally felt like that's kind of how they were going to make their money. But for me, what got me frustrated is that we didn't score a goal from the field, right? It came off a penalty, right? So it's kind of, I want to see us in action play to kind of get some points in there to show that we can do it, that way. But I'll still take the point, man. But yeah, that's just kind of what frustrated me, And leading on from frustration to sadness, right? And kind of piggyback on that is kind of sad when you get any more goals. I kind of think that this team has the potential to do that, right? To put it on them. But, I guess a win's a win, right? Can't be too picky. What about you?
Yeah, you can't be too picky. I think what I was kind of sad about, there was a couple. I already mentioned the Celio thing. I really want to see this guy play for some substantial amount of time, but yet he's relegated to the bench, and that's, I guess, in some ways, that's even frustrating too. But if I had to pick a new emotion thing, it would be seeing Totland get injured. I don't think Totland gets enough credit for his contribution to advancing the ball and having the typical stat of G plus, like contribution to goal scoring opportunities. So that makes me a little sad in a way. And speaking of sad and potentially our next emotion, fear. Oh my gosh. I saw that Steve had sent me a message and he said, oh, yeah, Berkey has a fracture in his hand. And of course I'm thinking, okay, this guy is just like screwing with us. He's just wanting us to be fearful and all that. And yeah, when I actually saw it on social media from other people too, I was like, oh my gosh, this is scary. Now, the good news is we held back Seattle pretty well. They had a lot of their goal generating players that were injured. I do wonder how we're going to do against Carnell's team, especially with Lunt. I think Lunt's a pretty darn good goalie, but when you have the best goalie in the league, Berkey, it's hard for anybody to match up to it. So that's my fear. What's your fear?
Well, during that game, so yeah, I agree that the Burger thing was a big hit, and that's probably my next emotion. For this one, fear, when we were playing the game, and it was like it was probably close to the end of the game, where I think his name was Vargas from Seattle. He drew, Kessler knocked him down, and it seemed like he was going to get a penalty kick, right? And it seemed like it was about to just like, all right, this is going to be the equalizer. This is where we lose it, or, I thought we had a win on our hands, and it's just so close. It's going to slip out of our hands. I was so scared the whole time, but they went to VAR and they determined that it was handball, right? So like, it kind of negated that penalty. So then I kind of felt relief, right? But again, all that moment up to it, if we didn't have the video review, like I feel like, well, we could have been screwed right there, and we probably could have lost the match, right? So like again, that's kind of what I was feeling, man. But
right.
But going forward, you were talking about Berkey, right? I kind of felt like, all right, well, Seattle coming into this game, they had a couple of injuries, and we had, obviously Berkey was out, and Berkey is like a human wall, dude. Like he's just amazing, right? But
superpowers.
Yeah. But that said, after like the game, I thought, well, you know what? If Berkey during the game, I saw how the defense was holding up. I thought to myself, well, it's possible that maybe perhaps we can kind of manage without Berkey for a little bit, right? But now I feel, so the next emotion would be hesitation, man. And going up against a very powerful Philly team next week, I don't know that our defense is that good, that we can compensate for not having Berkey on the field. I think we need that man to channel his inner Wolverine and heal quickly so we can be back on the field. I'm sorry. We need him, dude. What about you?
Yeah, my hesitation is it is going into tougher opponents because we've had opponents that already this season have had substantial injuries. Obviously, we're all riding high and we're excited for next week and the weeks after. I just don't want to see fans freak out when we happen to come across a loss or a tie or something like that, because it's going to happen, right? It's normal. There's not a team in this league that's going to go without a loss. I just don't want us to, lose our minds over anything yet. And I don't know what the injury report is like, but I don't think Philly has the same kind of injuries like Seattle or LA Galaxy had. I think we're going to see a good challenge next week. I do think our defense is as good as advertised, but the fact is it's not like a defense can hold back all the shots. Because if your midfield doesn't play and keep the ball out, sometimes you're eventually going to wear down our defense, and it's going to give goal scoring opportunities. Somehow San Diego kind of defied that. They were constantly battering our back line, but somehow we held the whole time, and especially if Berkey's out, which I assume he is with the fractured hand. I think Lunt's a pretty decent replacement, but it's not still that top tier. He's good though. We're gonna see how good Kessler is. And we're just gonna have to see. So the next emotion for you, and I'll let you go first for this one, is funny or hilarious.
I thought Olaf getting a drawing yellow card, I thought it was pretty funny, man. Like, it just kind of, you don't see that, like, it's not common, right? So I thought it was pretty funny, and I kind of feel like maybe that motivated the team a little bit. I don't know. It seemed like that's when we kind of started to tighten up more on the defensive side, So that's mine, What about you?
Yeah, I threw it to you because I was going to say the same thing. That's pretty hilarious, especially because we were the winning team at that moment. And I didn't really see anything that was that egregious, but it looks like he was getting a little too feisty, and I think he stepped on the touch line, which is a no-no. So that's pretty hilarious. So anyways, we're going to go to our next segment here, and it's called Goal or No Goal. And if you guys are new to us, essentially what we do is we typically come up with social media posts, but not always, and we throw it to the team here and say, okay, do we agree or disagree, hence goal or no goal. So I'm going to start with one here. Let me pop this up. So B Skrilla on Reddit basically says, Henry Kessler may literally be a demigod. I love Tim Parker, but that trade was absolute highway robbery. What do you think, Alberto? Goal or no goal?
That's a goal, dude. Yeah, I mean, how could you not like Kessler? Parker's great, but the man has really kind of shaped our team, I think, this year.
Yeah, I agree. Tim Parker is got a special place in our hearts because he was our first goal scorer for our team, first goal ever. And he did the whole thing where he put the soccer ball under his jersey like a baby, like he was pregnant. And that's forever going to be singed in our minds and hearts forever. But when I saw this trade, I was one of the few people that probably wasn't disappointed, just because he seemed, at least on paper, to be the exact same kind of player that Parker was as far as quality, but substantially younger. I think he's like 4 or 5 years younger, and to have the longer term control, I think this has been perfect. And not only did he meet expectations, but so far he's exceeded it. No, I don't know. Maybe Tim Parker would have done great in the system as well, but I don't know that Kessler's just doing that well. I think Olaf, I think he was a center back, if I recall correctly. So it just makes sense that kind of energy from the coach would be translating to on the field as well. Let's see. This is an interesting one. This is from Champagne, and I think we've quoted this person before, but they said, Betcher and Teutschert were both impressive last year in a very different system. Neither has impressed in this system, and Teutschert as a number 9 was very surprising to everyone for a reason. That's not his position. If we're going to play this way, we need more traditional striker that can lead the line and a link-up partner for him. We don't need as many guys who run around a lot in high press. So, what do you think? Do you think Betcher and Teutschert are somehow not as good as they were last year?
I mean, there's recency bias here, right? Because I think our team is doing better this year than they were last year, right? So I would kind of not agree with that. I think they're being used in the best way to help the team right now. Maybe it's not the best use of their talents for themselves, but I think, yeah, like I said, they're being used in the way to help the team.
So you thinking goal or no goal on this one?
Thinking no goal. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say no goal as well. Now, I do agree that Teutschert does not seem quite as good as he did last year, especially around the League's Cup last year. he seemed like he was on fire. Everything was going great. But I think the system is a little different. I think we're a little bit more defensively focused and not quite the same offensive focus as we were last year. Now, with Betcher, I'm sorry, guys. I think he's doing just as good as last year, if not even better. The reason why is look at the number of shots in that first game against Colorado. Like I said, he had, I think, 1 or 2 headers towards goal on frame. No, I'm sorry, 4 or 5 headers on goal during that game. And then he had like 1 or 2 foot shots, if you will, on goal. Like, that's great. He was in good position. And if you have that every game, guess what? You're going to score goals, especially with how close he was. He had some high XG shots on that. I don't know. And even this past game, when he came in, he looked pretty good. Unfortunately, we didn't get a full 90 with him. But I don't know. I'm going to say no goal for this person.
Okay, and
you got one?
Again, we're also comparing them to their peak of last season, right? We're just starting this season, Let's see how kind of the rest of it plays out,
Once we start getting to know each other in this formation, system,
yeah, and the chemistry starts flowing. So again, let's I feel it's a little early to say that.
All right, you got one?
Well, it kind of going back to the funny Olaf thing. Again, great thing. Do you think Olaf draws with a yellow card before the end of the season? Again, mighty, we're only in week 4. Goal or no goal?
That he draws another one?
Yeah.
I'm going to say goal. I mean, he looks like he's that innocent, kind of just like that older, like, uncle kind of thing. But he also seems like that kind of dude that's like chill, and then he flips his switch pretty quick. Am I right?
Yeah.
This is when we were winning. We got this yellow card. I just wait until we're down by like 2 goals or we're in a supremely meaningful game. I think that switch is going to flip and we're going to see a different guy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, especially defensive coaches are known for their passion, So like, yeah, well, I think we'll see as well. I don't got anything else, man.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, goal or no goal? This is from Snakes on Reddit. The ref let that game get out of control. Glad we stayed strong, but would have been nice to connect on a couple more of those attempts. So, goal or no goal in that first sentence? The ref let that game get out of control.
What did you mean by that? In what sense? Get out of control?
Yeah, just like letting the players take out frustrations, like not maintaining etiquette.
Okay, in that case, goal, yeah. There was a lot of, I believe it was one of those corner kicks where like one of the Sounders punched one of our guys in the kidney, And like, come on, dude, that should have been called, right? But like they were kind of letting that kind of go on, and I think it's just drawing more frustration on the players. I think they should have had it a little bit more tighter. And I'm not usually one for like tight, official interference, but still, I mean, I think it was getting out of hand, especially with all the flopping that they were doing. You got to kind of call that sometimes, bring it back. So I do agree with that one.
So goal. I'm actually going to say no goal, just because I've seen games that have gotten out of control. Like there's just some games where you're like, okay, you have to start showing the yellow cards, and they just don't. And then all of a sudden, like, players are practically punching each other or tripping each other, and it just kind of spirals out of control. And then you get those, like, quote-unquote fights that kind of break out. I don't think it really spun out of control, in my personal opinion. But, that's fine. I got 1 or 2 more for you. This is from Sapper00 on Reddit. I'm really proud to see City fans policing their own tonight and ensure the fan who threw beer on the field was ejected and booed the whole way out. He went on later and said, he was at the game and saw firsthand. I obviously forgot when, but there was a non-call on an obvious foul against City, and someone from the supporter section threw a can on the field at all the players. A City player grabbed it and yelled at the section. The supporters instantly pointed out to the fan who threw it as everybody booed and yelled, "Kick them out." I'm just happy to see we police our own. STL has always had an amazing fan base. Goal or no goal?
That's a goal. I mean, I like that ever since the team came to St. Louis, that when we started with it, it brought the community together. And I think that given with everything that's going on in the world, that we need safe spaces, right? Where like we can enjoy our sports and have a good time. And I don't think there's any room for that. That could have hit someone, and it just reflects poorly on the fan base, right? So I think it's good that we kind of do start policing ourselves about it.
Yeah, I agree with you, goal. And especially since we were at that San Diego game and we experienced this in American soccer, it's nice to know that that kind of crap probably would never show up here in St. Louis, because I think we would shut that down so quick. So quick. Okay, so let's go to our last segment here. And this segment is Coach for a Day. So, Alberto, what we're going to plan is, let's say Olaf decided to go on a vacation. I know, don't get too afraid here. But let's say he decided to go on vacation and he said, hey, you two chuckleheads, how about you guys take over the team? What would you do for this upcoming game?
Okay, so he decided the worst time to take a vacation, given that we are the Philadelphia Union next, right? They are a powerhouse of a team, and
Well, you know what else?
What's up?
The other thing is this is kind of like, you know what this game is going to be like? This game is like when you're seeing your ex and you have your new boyfriend or girlfriend, Philadelphia Union, you have our new coach, Olaf. Kind of interesting, kind of also awkward too.
Yeah, okay, that's true. I wasn't even considering that, but that's right. That's a good point. But so again, like I've been having an issue. I try to see what the identity of this team is, right? Because every game we played has been a little bit different, right? Colorado to me was a balanced attack. San Diego, it was just a defensive showing on our end. And then against the Galaxy, we kind of just opened up the offense, right? We just kind of started trying to put as many points as we can up there, right? And so I still don't know who we are as a team, right? And if I was going to be a coach for a day, given that we're going with a very, again, we are a clean sheet, no goal scored on us, right? I'd love to see that continue, right? I like us to break that record, right? But we're going up against a high-powered offense, right? And as much as like I would like to say that we need to be more defensive and play, we need to get our team playing the way we play against San Diego, right? Where we're not going to break and we got to kind of keep them out. I don't think that's the right way to do it because, eventually it's going to get through, especially if we don't have Berkey, right? We kind of need to have like an aggressive approach, kind of the way we did yesterday against the Sounders and the way we did it against Galaxy. I think we need to kind of start putting pressure on them, right? A good defense is a good offense. And that's how I would approach it. I would throw all of our top talent in there, like Betcher, he has to be in there playing, Klaus has to be in there. Like, we need big bodies too. Like, it just, pull out all the brakes on this, man. Live by the sword, die by the sword. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game. I'll admit I haven't seen a Philadelphia Union game yet, but just assuming with the press, we saw kind of what happened based on the San Diego game. I think, unfortunately, we just can't sit back in defense forever, especially if we have Lunt. Need something to help us kind of progress. The one thing good about this past game is, and I kind of mentioned to you when we were watching the game last night, is that the passing seemed to be a little bit more crisper. We were attempting to move the ball up the field quicker. We had a lot more like one-time passes and stuff like that, compared to, like, let's say the San Diego game where all we did is pass backwards. So that was actually nice to see, and I kind of want to see that too. Now, the good thing is if they're pressing a lot, that also gives us the ability for counters too. One of my things is I think we need somebody fast in there, and I think we got some fast players, but I really think this might be a time to see Celio, for instance. I would love to see him there because I feel like he would have a chance of speeding along the edges and actually countering Philly Union. We have to take a slightly more offensive approach. I would rather us not draw and flip a coin for win or loss. Because if we play for this draw, we're going to lose. I just know we will. We have to score a goal here, especially with the number of goals that Philly has scored. The other thing is this might be a time for Boss. I know it's controversial, and I know he's not great striker for us right now, but he might be the perfect person. And the reason why is he is a physical demon. He basically rocks everybody's world. He can cause a lot of disruption. I think we're going to need it. Just mark my words. If he doesn't start, you're going to miss that physicality out on the field. And it's kind of funny that your striker is one of the most physical players out there, but I think we're going to miss that. Now, the other thing is it's hard to get both him and Betcher out there, but maybe if we need to, start with Klaus and then, around the 60th minute, get Betcher out there. I do wish we could have Betcher out there, 24/7 every single minute. This might be a game, however, that it might be a Klaus game, honestly. What do you think about that?
Again, I think so too. Again, he's a big dude, kind of needs his presence out there. Yeah, we could find a way to get them both in out there, Betcher as well. It'd be great, but it's just, I'm going to also refer back to Olaf. I mean, so far, he hasn't done a bad move, right? Obviously, we want more wins, but I think he kind of knows what he's doing with his formation and rotation of the players, Not thrilled that this is a road game for us. So it's just, I think that doesn't bode well for us. But it's also in Philadelphia, so it's not as far as going to the West Coast.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. I would love to see us break the streak for clean sheets, but I think if this is the game, we got to kind of just go all in. We can't play for that draw anyways. Yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah, agreed.
Klaus have to be a big part of it.
Yeah, and the other thing too is we started. So the first 3 games that we had, we were playing. It depends how you want to call it. You can call it a 3-5-2, or you can call it a 5-3-2. Basically, the whole point is you had 3 center backs and then 2 wing backs, and then you had the rest of the midfield and the 2 attackers. However you want to call it, 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2. This game, though, we started with a true 4-4-2, where it was kind of the flat midfield. It did not look like a diamond to me. It looked like a very traditional 4-4-2. To be honest, our defense was still pretty darn stout. I would actually, obviously, yes, we're going to trust Olaf with this. I'd almost much rather see this 4-4-2. And the reason why is because I feel like our defense can handle it. I don't think we need that extra center back. I just want to see a little bit more of an offensive forward team, even if we do a 3-5-3 or 3-5-2. I just want to see a little bit more of an offensive edge personally. Just because, like we're both saying here, I think we both agree we need to score some goals. So, okay.
The one thing I will point out, and again, it's just you play what's in front of you, right? Philadelphia Union has played Orlando Pride, Cincinnati, and New England, right? And today they're playing Nashville. Out of, those opponents, right? Orlando has given up the most goals in the league, and they gave up 4 to Philadelphia. Same thing can be said about New England, right? So I don't want to take anything away from Philly, because they're obviously, they play who's in front of them. But it seems like they played weaker opponents.
I see. So you think the stats are deceiving for them?
Somewhat. I'm not saying that they come in here just rock us, right? And I don't want to take that away from them, right? But I'm thinking we might not. We might fare better than we think we will, right? And, hope springs eternal. So we'll see on Saturday night.
So, Andre, if any of our people out there are listening, I do want to invite you guys to find us on Blue Sky, Reddit, Facebook. For the most part, our handle is STL City Showdown. Although on Facebook, Steve masquerades on there as May Zipper. There's a whole story to that. Maybe someday he'll tell you guys about that. But if you see May Zipper, that's him. And if you see me on there, it'll say STL City Showdown and then AJ. Feel free to hit us up if you guys have any comments or if you want to find our links. We do more than just our podcast here. Every month I create the phone backgrounds that you guys see for the schedules, and Steve does a really good job at distributing that for me. Steve does a really cool thing, which is the ref report. Some people like that, some people don't. I think it's actually pretty cool because it shows the type of game that's going to be played. A lot of us soccer nerds love data, and he does a great job at bringing that out, especially talking about the ref's last game. And guess what? Once again, his ref report was extremely accurate, and we saw basically what was predicted. We also have a poll out there. It's a team poll. On Reddit, you're going to see 2 polls. There's one by somebody else, which is a fun poll to do, of course, which is the individual players. But our poll tends to focus more on just like attacking, midfield, defense, things like that. So if you guys see that, that's us, and we'll typically release the data sometime around Wednesday, depending on when we actually posted it. In that spirit, usually Steve does this, but Andre and I are gonna have to do this ourselves. You ready? Ball for City on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All for
All
city.
for city.